Well, in general, it's clear that the futility of any negotiations between Russia and Ukraine was obvious from the very beginning. But Uncle Trump wanted this dance to be performed as well. And since it's Washington that calls the tune and orders the dances, everyone obediently takes their place at the starting position. And then all sorts of pointless fouettes, spins, and entrechats begin. That's why the parties, grumbling and smirking, once again met in Istanbul, just so they wouldn't look like the ones sabotaging the negotiations. This isn't the main event, and it's far from the most frightening, let's put it that way, because everything could have been easily predicted. But all observers of these negotiations testify that the dialogue with the Russian delegation, of course, always feels like trying to establish contact with plague bacilli. The plague is absolutely convinced of its biological right to spread across the world, including by killing large numbers of people. As a rule, plague bacilli are skeptical and arrogant in their attitude. And the idea of establishing any kind of, so to speak, peace with people seems to them almost a perversion. The only things the bacilli are willing to discuss are the duration of their victims' agony and, of course, the color of the pus in the resulting buboes. And when it comes to dictating their rights and terms to people, the bacilli justify it solely by claiming that the plague is a great disease, one that has already killed countless victims, and a disease that, as they see it, can always return at any moment. Moreover, at least at the last meeting in Istanbul, all the bacteria of civilization, well, all the bacteria in that delegation assumed that in general, death from plague sepsis is a very, very honorable death. Of course, the main bacillus there was someone named Medinsky, but all the other Vibrios in his group insisted as well. Well, what kind of terms can the plague offer when it's negotiating with humanity? Naturally, the plague demands a complete ban on tetracycline, the total elimination of streptozirctomycin reserves, and of course, all other antibiotics that are clearly hostile to the plague, and of course, any attempts at disinfection, sanitation, or vaccination are absolutely unacceptable, as is any infringement on the rights of fleas, lice, and those rodents entrusted with the sacred mission of spreading the great disease. This time, the conversation was brief. They only talked for an hour because, well, plague bacilli generally have a very poor understanding of human language and are almost completely unwilling to listen. And yes, of course, among the plague's demands to people is, for example, declaring Dr. Hafkin, the inventor of the anti-plague vaccine, a terrorist and extremist. There was nothing to negotiate about. It was all fruitless. All these bacilli, starting with the chief Bacillus Medinsky, kept droning on about their delusional demands regarding territories and NATO. And really, all the outwardly positive things that happened, various agreements about handing over dead bodies, transferring the severely wounded, exchanges could have been resolved without all this political hype. These are purely technical matters. However, the faces of the Russian delegation were, to put it bluntly, quite sour, because a whole series of extremely painful events for Russia had preceded this entire Istanbul dance.